You ready?
Yeah, I've been ready.
Hi, I'm Lizabeth.
And I'm Cindy.
And we're here with another feeding frenzy for the 4 Spiritual Laws of Prosperity by Ghandi, a simple guide to unlimited abundance. We are moving on.
Moving on.
To chapter
Moving
9.
out. Chapter 9, finally.
Finding your divine purpose.
Yep. Yep. So, what is a divine
tell me,
purpose? You tell me
what is a divine
purpose? Tell me what it is to you.
Well, in simplest terms, it's what are you here to do? What are you here to be? What are you here to change? What are you here to express?
Do you think everybody is here for one of those reasons?
I think we're all here for some kind of reason. Oh, yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to be a huge, big thing, though, does it?
Well,
I mean,
what do you mean by
to
huge,
change
big?
the world?
Well, but I think we all change the world in some way. We can't exist and not create a ripple.
Right, right.
You know?
I agree with that, but we may not be
Ghandi had to have
famous or-
teachers.
Right.
He also had to have people that served him in other ways. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they were the face on the poster, so to speak.
Right.
So, without support systems, none of us would rise to the top,
Right.
so to speak.
Right, but what I'm thinking is, used to when I was teaching this kind of stuff, everybody wanted to do the next great thing, and be the next big whatever, and yet they felt led to just stay home and be a mom. And they were looking for, or feeling bad because they couldn't find their purpose. They were just a mom, and I'm like, no,
Just a
maybe
mom is
just
a purpose.
mom to the next president,
Right.
or the next Ghandi, or whatever,
I think
It doesn't have to be a great big deal.
Well, I think it's our ego that wants the great big deal, that wants the name and lights, that wants the, to be the one that rises to the top. And I think it's not the purpose for all of us.
No. No.
Otherwise we'd all be actors, or we all would be sports figures, or we would all be artists, or we would all be.
So I'm reminded of the little guy that we saw the last week or so that was parking cars. I mean, he was on purpose. He loved what he was doing.
He really was.
And most ballets I've seen were only friendly and nice and excited when they were trying to get your money.
Yeah.
But as soon as they thought nobody was looking, they were back to grumbling and growling about having that kind of job.
Right.
And this little guy didn't know nobody was watching because he didn't care. But he was loving his job.
Yeah, I really enjoyed watching it too.
Yeah. So that may be his purpose, to move cars, especially little ones.
Yeah. Oh, he did love driving that little car, didn't he? He moved a lot.
And if that's his purpose, he does it well.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's something, I think, that changes and evolves. What I think might be my purpose where I'm sitting today, maybe a small piece, but it doesn't encompass the whole thing, the whole picture. So I can allow movement or allow room for it to change as I change.
Well, I think we get more clarity.
Yes, definitely.
As we move in the direction, I think it becomes more clear.
Yes.
It's almost like seeing something way off in the distance, and the closer you get, the more detail you can see.
Yeah.
And that's, for me, that's the way I feel about mine, is that I can see more of the how and more of the, oh, that's why that happened, and more of the just finer details of it as I get closer to it. I remember reading a book, I can't remember the guy's name now, but it was about purpose. Finding your purpose or something, and he talked about that if you look backwards in your life and look through your past, and he had us go through this whole exercise of just sort of mapping out our lives so far. He said you will see the trail of why things have happened and what your purpose is based on what's happened in your life, and everything that's happened in your life is pointing you in a certain direction for that purpose. And that he was trying to help us find our purpose, and that was one of the exercises, was to look at what's happened in your life to see where it's leading you, so that you can sort of get an idea of what your purpose is. And I find it very interesting, especially the older I get, and there's more of a trail back there, to look and see, even in the times when I didn't know that I was working on my purpose. I was working on my
Yes,
purpose.
yes.
When it
Yes.
seemed like this was so foreign to me, or this was so out of my comfort zone, or so different from everything else in my life, it was somehow preparing me for one aspect of my final divine purpose. You know, and it's just amazing to me how even though when we don't realize what's going on, God's putting everything into place.
Oh, absolutely.
Moving all the little pieces right there into place, and boom. You know, the other night I told you that, well, we were talking about Mother's Day and what a great time we had, and that I just had a revelation that, you know, I have always wanted more money to give my kids while they were in school, and now I realize that I've probably served them better by not having the money, because they've learned more from not having the handout.
Right.
However, if I'd had the money and just not given it to them because I wanted to learn that would have given them a whole different message. So it's just those little things, you know, and I kept thinking, why am I not getting a lot of money? But if I had have gotten all the money I was wanting, I couldn't have taught them that from that perspective as easily, you know. So I think all those little things, they say hindsight is 20/20, and when we look back, we can see all those things that have moved us, and not only us, but our kids and all those around us, and how we've all played in this together. It was really
And
cool.
I think it's easier to see your purpose when you've got a trail to look back on. But I can remember very succinctly that when I was just getting ready to get out of high school, and I was being asked, so what are you going to do with your life? I didn't really have a trail to look at. Do you know what I'm saying? And I really had no idea where I was going. And it's at that point where I'm trying to teach my kids now, you've got to know where you're being drawn. That's what you rely on then, is what am I being drawn to? What piques my interest? And sometimes it can be as simple as, you know, I'm always thinking about Egyptian times. Okay? What draws you to that? You know, my daughter right now has an affinity for a location, for Paris. She can't tell you exactly what it is, but she is absolutely drawn to it. So I tell her, okay, then go with that if that's where you're being drawn, you know, because she doesn't have a path to look at behind her yet, because she hasn't gone down that path far enough in order to be able to shape that. So I think it's good that we can teach them how to be aware of where they're being drawn. And, you know, I came late to the party as far as being aware of being drawn. You know, I had no idea that I could simply look inside and pay attention to my thoughts and my desires in order to find that potential or where I was going. So I think even later on, we can always look at, of course we need to look at inside first where our desires are, but if I'm not recognizing what it looks like behind me, I can always check in, okay, well, where are my desires today? And then if I lose the fire for it, then I can just think, okay, well, then maybe that's not it. Maybe it's changing as I'm changing. So another thing that I've learned about my divine purpose is I may not be able to exactly tell you this is the title of the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? Like a book title. You know, the first time I sat down at one of Edwin Gaines' seminars, and she, I mean, just very in plain English, explained exactly what her divine purpose was. I thought, wow. Not only does she have the title, she's got the subtitles and the chapters and the verses and everything. And I'm thinking,
she knows exactly what her purpose is. But
I'm not there
she's
yet.
She's a little older than we are.
Of course, she's a little older than we are. But I also realized that it just didn't come to her in a dream. Do you know what I'm saying?
She worked it out.
She worked it out over time. And
she
so
didn't start there.
Exactly. She didn't start there. And I think when we look towards somebody who's already figured it out, we think, well, okay, what did you do to get it? Because I'm not getting it. No, what we're not realizing is it's a process, just like everything else in our life. And we get it step by step. And the closer that the more steps we take towards it, the more clear the picture becomes, like you said.
I used to get frustrated because I couldn't read a book and it told me step by step exactly how to do it and how to get to it, and how to figure it out, and how to get to the money, and how to get to the joy, and how to get to everything I wanted. You know, and it's I'm learning that it's the process that is the purpose. You know, it's not a destination; it's the journey. I mean, that sounds so cliche, but it's true. It's how we live our everyday life.
And how many times did you read that in books that you read?
Yeah, yeah,
And you think,
exactly. Yeah.
But I just want you to tell me.
Right.
Well, the problem with that being, that is how they got there.
Right.
That's not how
Everybody has a
I'm
different
going
path.
to get there.
Right.
And mine is going to be different than yours. Even though we may share the same interests, we still have a different path.
Right. So now, you know, here lately especially, I'm really understanding more about the now. And, okay, am I having fun today? And how I'm getting to where I want to be. Am I having fun in this process? And if I'm not having fun on a daily basis, I'm going to get to the end of this life and not have had any fun.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so I need to, you know, it's not about the destination. It's really not. It's about, am I having fun getting there today? No, I don't have everything I want today.
Right.
I don't have the money I would love to have. I don't have the stuff I'd like to have. I don't have the experiences I'd like to have. And there are some days when I don't see how in the world I'm ever going to get them. But am I having fun today in getting the money, in getting the experiences, in getting the places? You know, I don't want to wait until it's over.
Yeah, no.
And then say, okay, you know, now I can do it, and now I'm too old to enjoy it. You know,
Yeah.
I've got to be having fun today, and whatever I have right here with me.
Your daughter said something real profound the other day. Something about how she had noticed that she thought what she was supposed to do was find somebody to marry, have a couple of kids, and then start dreaming.
Yeah.
But she has changed her mind. She has decided that that's not the way it's supposed to be done.
Right.
I think the point being, we're supposed to be dreaming all along.
Right.
We're supposed to be building it all along, experiencing it all along.
Right.
Not
Finding happiness today.
Not get through the mundane until retirement, or get through mundane until I've got 30 years in at this job, or get through the mundane until. There's not an until. And it was in that moment I realized, oh, okay. Well, what if I gave myself the freedom to decide, am I enjoy doing this today?
Right. My mom used to tell me all the time, quit wishing your life away. And I didn't know what she meant. I mean, I did, but I didn't understand that fully until recently. I think, wow, every time we say, oh, if I can just get this, or when I get this, I'll do that. You know, do what you can today to make
go get
yourself happy. Yeah, to go get that, and to make yourself happy in the moment.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
When I was listening to Tony Robbins a long time ago, he was talking about this same thing, and he said he at one point in his career he had to make a ton of phone calls because he had done something. He had to make all these phone calls, and he was really dreading it. And he thought, what can I do to make this fun? So he decided to make all the phone calls from the hot tub, you know, and he just turned things around to where it was fun for him, you know. And I'm constantly thinking about that. Okay, I don't really want to do whatever this is, but how can I make this fun? You know, and I think that's what we have to do. We have to enjoy life today and enjoy what we're doing now.
Wow.
And our divine purpose will become clearer.
What it is and where we're going. Yeah.
So what's your divine purpose?
I truly believe today, and as Edwene is fond of saying, and I agree, so I adopt, I give myself permission to change my mind tomorrow. Where I believe I am today is with our prosperous life. Living the prosperous life and sharing our prosperous life with those out there who are ready to hear it, which is basically taking the teachings of the great masters and putting it into practical steps, living it, not just staying stuck in the same story and repeating the same stories or memorizing the stories. I want to go out and live it. Living those principles.
I'll help.
That's what I believe it is. That's what I believe it is.
Well, I don't know about your purpose, so to speak, but I know your writing and your speaking and those kind of things are definitely involved because you're so good at it. What about me? I don't know that I'm as clear. I have felt for a long time that my purpose is to help people live a more prosperous life. But I think mine is a little more of a practical part of that because I get tired of people saying, oh, just do this and just do this and think this way and think that way, but they never give me any practical tools
to do that.
With. And so with my technical knowledge, I really feel like teaching the technology of it and the practical ways to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think a big part of mine is helping people find the freedom they really already have and just don't realize.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know looking back on my life, that's been a huge part of my process, is feeling stuck and then realizing I wasn't.
Yeah.
You know, and I felt stuck when I couldn't stay home with my son, you know, and I worked on the inside first, but I needed real physical tools and money to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I really was looking for somebody to say, okay, here's a way to make some extra money, or here's a way to get from A to B and to get the things you want, even though, yes, it does take a lot of change in here, but give me the physical tools to make it happen and to show me that freedom and to change our thinking in the way we think about our world. You know, there's so many people who think that you've got to go to school, get a job, earn good grades, you know, so you can get the job, and then be stuck in this little mold and be like everybody else, when there's so many different ways to do it, and that may not be your path.
Right.
It might be. I'm not saying that's a wrong path.
Right.
It's just not everybody's path.
Right.
But our society tends to put everybody on the same path and wants everybody to follow the same thing. Well, I'm telling you, all fifth graders don't wear the same size jeans.
Right.
They just don't.
Right.
And we're all different, and we need to learn that we're all different. We all learn differently. We all do things differently. We have different ways to make this work, and it's all a different path. So I'll get off my soapbox now, but I feel like that's important for people to realize. I don't have to just go along with the crowd, and I think so many of us are sleepwalking and being led in certain directions because of our school system and our government and our society, and just the way we're led to believe that this is the way life goes.
Yeah.
We can make it anything we want to.
Yeah.
But so many people don't realize that.
But then together, I think that our joint purpose is to bring the spiritual tools and the practical tools together in the realization that we're already living a prosperous life.
Right. I agree. That's really good stuff.
I think it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Shrink.